So task 4 activity 3 is what we're now on to, which is land and building transaction tax. Okay, so land and building transaction tax, which is shortened to LBTT, it has historically been known as stamp duty. So if you have parents, mum and dad, aunt and uncle, gran and grandpa, and go and ask them about stamp duty, that's what they're talking about. It's now called land and buildings transaction tax. It used to be called stamp duty. It's another type of tax. So it is a tax applied to the purchase of land or buildings in Scotland. Okay, most of us are not going to purchase land, but probably a lot of us are going to purchase a building. You're going to purchase a house or a flat. Okay, so this is a tax that you have to pay when you buy a house or a flat, when you buy a property. Also, if you buy a plot of land for something to build something on, you would have to pay this as well. Okay, so make sure you have that definition copied in, please. It's really important. The amount of tax a buyer has to pay depends on the value of the property they're buying. More expensive properties attract a higher tax rate. Okay, so just as most of these things with these tax, different types of tax, it is a tiered system. The lower the value, the less tax you're charged. The higher the value, the higher tax rate you're charged. Okay, that's kind of how it's been working for all of these tax things we've looked at. Okay, so your job, first of all, is to use the internet to find out the current land and building transaction tax rates and price bands. Now, this actually changed quite recently. This changed as of, I think, July 2020. It was set in stone for quite a while, and it has been changed due to coronavirus. Actually, it has the rates slightly changed. So you'll see that written down when you type this in. So what you have to type in order to get the new rates is, if you go to your search engine, type in new LBTT rates Scotland, and it should hopefully Scotland, can't spell it. It should hopefully come up with the rates that have been updated as of July 2020. Okay, so pause the video, go to your search engine, and what I want you to do is they should have just 3 or 4 rows of tax rates and price thresholds, price bands. I want you to copy them in underneath this heading. Okay, hopefully you have that written in now. So this was changed. This was changed as of July 2020. These new price bands. So you have the purchase price here, and you have the LBTT tax rate over here. So it used to be that anything that cost £0 up to £145,000 didn't have to pay anything, 0%, but they've actually raised that now. So it's actually, as you can see, £0 to £250,000 that you do not pay any of this tax on. So basically you could buy a property, anything up to the value of £250,000, and you don't have to pay any tax on that purchase. So that is saving a lot of people money, because usually they would have to, because this is where the majority of properties, fall, this price range. So that is going to help a lot of people. The next price band is above £250,000 and up to £325,000. So from 250,000 and a penny, just to be technically, and a pound, sorry, just to be technically correct, to £325,000. If you then get charged, if your property is above £250,000, for this price range, you get charged 5% of the amount in this band. If you're lucky enough to purchase a property even higher than that, the tax goes up. So above 325, so 325,000 and a pound, up until £750,000, you get charged 10%. And any property values that's still over £750,000, that extra money gets charged at a rate of 12%. Okay, so we are going to go through a couple of calculations with this because tax is confusing, even for adults it's confusing. So we're going to go through a couple of examples, and if you're not too sure at first, that's okay. This is really just an introduction exercise, but just copy down carefully what I'm doing, and we're going to be doing a similar style of calculation to this with income tax. So hopefully by the time we do that, you'll be okay. So our two calculations that we now need to do are as follows. Jonathan is buying a new flat and he has agreed to pay a price of £62,000. How much tax will Jonathan have to pay in it? Okay, so the purchase price, can you write this down with me? The purchase price is £62,000. So the LBTT rate, what is the LBTT rate on a property that is paid £62,000? So look at your table, look at what you've written. If it's £62,000, what is the LBTT rate? Write that down. Okay, hopefully you were able to identify that it was in this first price band, the 0 to 250, which means that the LBTT rate is 0%. So the amount that he'll have to pay is none. Okay, so a property that's only £62,000, any property up to £250,000, no tax has to be paid on it. So that's good news. Okay, let's try a different example though with a more expensive property. So Melanie and Tim are buying a house for them and their 4 children. They have agreed to a price of £260,000. Purchase price is £260,000. How much will they have to pay? Now I'm going to go through this for you because this can get a little bit confusing. Okay, but because I'll just go through it. So if we look at £260,000, we can see that it is obviously just higher than this £250,000 threshold, which is 0%. Now that means that we're going up into this next price band, which is charged 5%. But here's how tax works. You do not get charged 5% of the entire £260,000. So the most common thing people will do here is do 5% of the whole thing, £260,000, and that'll be whatever that is, 26,000 to 13,000. No, so that'd be £13,000 of extra money you'd have to pay in tax. No, that's ludicrous. That's so much money. That's not how you do it. Right? It's not as much as that. It's not as bad as that. So what you have to do is you do not get charged any tax up to £250,000. So all we have to work out is how much more is our price than that threshold of £250,000. Okay, it's fairly obvious to see that that is just a difference of £10,000. So the taxable money isn't the full £260,000. You take the £260,000 and you take away that threshold allowance. So that means that you only get taxed on £10,000 of that, right? Because we're still within this first band here, it's 5% of that £10,000. So the amount of tax that Melanie and Tim will have to pay is 5% of only £10,000. So that is a calculation which you should now be able to do for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Use your calculator. 5% of 10,000. Do that now, please. Okay, so 5 divided by 100 times by 10,000. That's all we have to do here. That's all the amount of tax is. So if you do that, hopefully you should get an answer of £500. So it's not too bad. It's not the £13,000 that we thought if we had to do 5% of the whole thing. That's not how it works. You take away that maximum allowance of 250,000 and then you pay tax on whatever is left over. Okay, so that's a little introduction to buying houses and the tax that is involved with that.